Virginia Giuffre was called many things: survivor, whistleblower, advocate, the woman who took down a prince. But in the end, the weight of it all was too much to carry. After years of fighting, surviving, and reliving unimaginable trauma, Virginia Giuffre has taken her own life. She was just 41 years old. Her death comes just weeks after she posted from a hospital bed, revealing she'd nearly died in a car crash. She described the ordeal as life-threatening. She said she had 4 days to live, but what followed was even more devastating. On April 25, 2025, Virginia was found unresponsive at her farm home in Western Australia. Authorities later confirmed she had died from a self-inflicted gunshot wound. This is the tragic ending of a woman who fought against one of the most powerful abuse networks in modern history, and the heartbreaking reminder of how deep the wounds of trauma can go. This is the story of Virginia Giuffre. Welcome to Crime 101. Earlier in April, Virginia was involved in what she described as a near-fatal car accident in Queensland, Australia. She posted a haunting photo from her hospital bed, her face swollen and bruised, medical tubes taped to her arms. She wrote, "Apparently I had 4 days to live. Every organ in my body was going into failure. They were going to put me into an induced coma. Doctors had diagnosed her with sepsis, a dangerous reaction to trauma or infection that can lead to multi-organ failure and death." According to her family, the accident had left her physically and emotionally shaken. For many, the post was alarming. It seemed like a cry for help. But to understand why the world responded with such concern, you have to understand who Virginia Giuffre was and what she represented. She wasn't just another name linked to Jeffrey Epstein. She was one of the very first women to go public about his sex trafficking operation. She said she was recruited at age 16 by Ghislaine Maxwell under the guise of a massage job. She was then trafficked across state lines and forced into sexual encounters with powerful men, including, she claimed, Prince Andrew. He denied the allegations, but in 2022, he paid a multi-million-pound settlement to avoid a court trial. The official agreement contained no admission of guilt, but the fallout permanently damaged the reputation of the British royal family. Through it all, Virginia became a symbol, not just of survival, but of unflinching courage in the face of systemic abuse. When she shared the photo from her hospital stay, it reignited global concern for her well-being. "I've never felt pain like this before," she wrote. Doctors had prepared her family for the possibility she might not make it, but she survived. She credited her children and her husband, Robert, who had stayed by her side, as the reason she kept fighting. But behind that strength was a woman carrying unimaginable emotional pain: PTSD, anxiety, depression, nightmares that never stopped. The shame, the fear, and the guilt, feelings her abusers had implanted long ago, still haunted her, even after the court victories. Friends and family say she felt the constant burden of being a public figure, a voice for survivors, a role model, a fighter. But inside, she was still grieving the childhood she lost and the innocence that could never be returned. Even in the days after the crash, conspiracy theories began to swirl. Some thought the timing was strange. Others believed she may have been silenced, or that the car crash itself had been staged. It wasn't the first time Virginia had been at the center of public suspicion. She had accused some of the most powerful people in the world. She had exposed names tied to global finance and royalty. And with Epstein's mysterious jail cell death still raising eyebrows, people couldn't help but wonder, was Virginia in danger? Was she being watched, threatened? Police said there was no indication of foul play in the car crash, and now they say the same about her death. Early reports suggest it was not suspicious, just tragic. A woman overwhelmed by years of trauma, pain, and public pressure. In the weeks leading up to her death, Virginia had started speaking out again. She named names, powerful men like Leon Black and Glenn Dubin, as people connected to Epstein's network. She said she had remained silent for years to protect her children. But now, with her kids growing older, she said she was done being quiet. "I am not afraid anymore," she wrote. But those words now take on a different meaning. Her family says the toll of abuse simply became unbearable. They described her as a fierce warrior in the fight against sexual abuse, and the light that lifted so many survivors. But even the fiercest warriors have limits. Virginia's longtime spokesperson called her a beacon to other survivors, and said representing her was the privilege of a lifetime. She had inspired thousands, but like so many survivors of long-term abuse, the pain didn't end when the headlines did. Virginia Giuffre's death is a devastating loss, not just to her loved ones, but to the countless survivors she gave strength to. Her legacy is one of bravery, resilience, and truth in the face of unimaginable odds. She sued Jeffrey Epstein. She won a settlement from Prince Andrew. She took on billionaires. She stood on stages in courtrooms and on television, telling a story most people couldn't imagine living through. But no amount of justice could erase the damage done. Behind her strength was suffering. Behind her courage, grief. She survived so much, but in the end, the weight became too heavy. Virginia Giuffre reminded the world that sexual abuse doesn't end when the abuser is jailed. Its scars run deep, lasting a lifetime. And sometimes, tragically, that lifetime is cut short. Virginia's story should never be forgotten. Let it be a call to action, to believe survivors, to support them, and to never look away from the systems that protect predators. This is Crime 101.